Our next project at Rudy's Travels is to design and build out the galley at the back of the hiker trailer. We plan to go from this basic set of shelves provided from the factory to a fully functioning galley, complete with a sink having hot and cold running water, as well as drawers and cabinets to store our kitchen cookware and utensils. First, we had to determine the overall design of the galley given our space constraints. We decided to use the middle shelf as a counter that will support the sink and provide some storage as well as work surface. After several design iterations, we were ready to build a frame, which we will go through in this part 1. In part 2, we install the sink, and in part 3, we run the plumbing for the sink, including hot and cold water supplies and a drain. Finally, in part 4, we complete the galley by adding the water heater outside the trailer. The frame will be placed in the space below the middle shelf and provide storage space and a set of drawers. The frame is built from 80/20 T-slot, which we also used to reconfigure the roof bars in a previous episode. So the first task was to determine the number of T-slot members needed and their sizes, and then cut them from existing stock.
Now that the pieces have all been cut to size, the next step is going to be to tap the ends of some of the pieces where it's necessary to insert a bolt or a screw rather into the end for the connections. So for example, in the corners, we use this three-part or three-way connector or a two-way connector depending upon the corner to join pieces together in a very strong and aesthetically pleasing way. And in order to do that, basically it will look like this when we're done. So you'll have a piece coming in here, a piece coming here, and a piece coming here. So you'll have a screw into this piece, a screw into this piece, and a screw from here, this hole, up into this piece. It forms a really solid joint. That's quite strong and looks pretty nice also. So in order to do that, we have to take the end of the stock that we just cut, where when it comes, the stock that comes from 80/20 will have as part of the specification a bore that extends throughout the entire profile. Right? So well, through here, so no matter where you cut it, you're going to see this bore. Now it comes with a smooth surface inside, and wherever you end up cutting it and you want to attach a connection point such as this corner connector, right? You would put the screw into there and tighten it. You need to tap out some threads inside the board part. So in order to do that, we use a tap over here. This is matched to the screws that we use, which is 1/4 20. And we can either do it with a hand tool such as this, and basically we put the tap in here and screw down. That's a little tedious and it can get kind of tiring if you have a lot of pieces to do, which we don't have to do all the pieces, only the ones that are on the corner. In the alternative, and what I usually do is to put the tap into a power drill. So you would put the tap in here as so, and basically you would take the stock and put it into a vise, which I have right here. And give it a little bit of WD-40 on the end, just to lubricate it. That's where it is now. You just put a little in there. Take your drill, put the tap, and go in about, I'd say about 1/2 of an inch is all you really need to go, maybe a little bit further. And what you'll have to do, the aluminum is a pretty malleable metal, but what you'll have to do is give it a go and then back off a little, then go a little farther. And you'll probably have to do that about 2 or 3 times to get down to where you need to go. Once we tap all the ends that we've tapped, then we'll be ready to put the whole thing together.
So I've got all the pieces cut, got everything tapped and laid out on the table in front of me, and now I'm ready to begin having some fun and really putting this thing together. First I want to show you the connectors that I'm going to be using. All right, we start with these corner connectors, which I discussed before, which enable you to join 3 pieces at their ends in a corner very snugly, and that works out great. I've got a few of these. I've got something similar here, which are two pieces, so they've got two apertures there, and the flat sides over there. Got some of those. These I'll use a lot of. These are for making corner connections between two pieces at any point along the way. So for example, I could take this and put it, let's say I want to join a piece on this member here. I'd bolt that in like that, and then I would take this piece, for example, here, and bolt that in like that. Then I can slide that up and down however I need to. So I'll be using those, and in certain cases I will use these special inside corner connectors. So if you notice, if I do this, okay, and I use that piece here, I'm kind of blocked from, let's see if that'll stand there, good. If I want to have a drawer, let's say, come through here, this thing will interfere with the drawer. So we need something that'll be a hidden connection for the same kind of a joint. So what we'll use in that case will be these inside connectors. I like these other ones better, they're a little stronger and easier to work with. But when we need clearance for a drawer or something like that, we'll just put that in there, tighten that in like that, and then this piece will slide in similarly, tighten the inside, and then you've got a nice, that stands up very well. Got a nice clean inside corner here, as you'll see later, so if the drawer has to go there, it'll clear. So I think we'll be good with all those, a whole bunch of nuts and a whole bunch of screws, button head screws to put it together. We'll take the plan out, we'll start putting it together piece by piece. I'll start with the front and work my way back, and hopefully it'll all fit and work out well. And if I have to make adjustments because of the nature of the 80-20 connections, I'll be able to do that with some more cuts and taps if I need to. So let's see how it goes. Alright, so the front face is done, and as you can see, I've used these corner pieces over here. These are the corners, and we'll extend them out with the pieces going back in a few minutes. And in the middle here, we use these internal corner brackets here, which give a nice clean, it gives a nice clean corner so that when the drawers come in and out, they won't hit. I've used these things here, I'd have a problem with the drawer hitting that. I'd have to build the drawer smaller, and it just wouldn't work as well. So we put those in there and there, snug them up. We may slide this piece, loosen these pieces up, loosen these screws up, and then we can slide this back and forth. I'm not sure about the exact positioning of the two spaces. I want to see how the sink is going to fit with the basin dropping over here, the false front, which I think the sink is coming in later today. I can check that out. But for now, this is close enough, and we can always slide it and adjust it before we build the drawer boxes. Okay, so the main frame, the framing cage is done for the drawer system. And you can see on the right side, it's a standard cube. I'll be able to insert two drawers here. I'll need some cross pieces to hold the slides. I'll put those in later when I'm ready to do the drawer boxes on another day. And on this side, we modified the design a little to accommodate the basin of the sink, which hopefully will fit right in about here. And I want to be able to have the sink mounted on the countertop, the middle shelf, and slide this in and out as need be. So the sink will be permanently mounted. This can slide in, the sink will clear over here,
And the bottom has a 4-inch section open for a drain hose to run from the bottom of the sink, which will be about here, elbowed out and down to the bottom of the floorboard. I think that'll give enough room. This will slide in easily, and if I ever have to take it out for servicing or whatever, it'll come out pretty easily. I won't have to take it apart. So let's see how it fits. All right, so it should slide right in. What I've done is put a piece of 3/4 inch plywood on the floorboard to raise the flooring up just to the level of this lip, because if I don't put that in there, this whole thing will sink in and there'll be a big gap up here, and I want to keep this fairly flush to the bottom of this countertop over here. So I think I'll put this in here, probably paint it a darker color so it doesn't show up, doesn't stand out. But for now, just leave it like that. Good. And if I push it in, so that'll come out, in and out pretty easily. That goes back as far, just to the back perfectly. It's flush with the back, and you can see it from there, but it is flush with the back. And I do have a gap. Keeping this at this level, there's about I'd say it's a half inch, maybe it's a half an inch of a gap between the underside of this countertop shelf and the bottom of this piece of molding, which is where this is. So I've got some room up there for the plumbing to go in, the cold water and hot water back and forth and into the sink. So that should work out pretty well, I believe. And this will just sit like that, and you get about maybe an 1/8 or 1/4 of an inch gap that I'll leave there. I'll screw that into that board there so it'll be tight. The sink, this is kind of emulating what the sink will look like, something like that. So hopefully the basin will drop down about here. I'll have a false front and a drawer below it. And then this is the door. I put a quick mesh front on the door because I think I want to keep it visible to see the battery components in the back, which will be back there. My Goal Zero is not back there, it's being charged right now. So I'll clean that up, and I'll have a set of hinges that are coming that will basically hinge the door here, and then it'll just basically look like that with the false front, drawer, stove pull-out, drawer. And if this doesn't look too unsightly, I'll leave it like that, get some airflow into the battery. I don't know if it leaks or not. And then it'll be some kind of a latch that I'll just pull out. This will be hinged and come out and swing out of the way. So I can get in there and do what I have to do with the wiring, pull the battery out. It should be, hopefully I left enough room. And triple check the measurements. I left enough room for the battery to come out, go in and out. If not, I'll have to shave everything off by whatever I need this way. But I will need to be able to get the battery out. So this may end up being a solid front panel. A solid front panel. I'll see how it looks. I can swap that out. If the mesh looks good, I'll get a single piece of mesh from the vendor. I just have these two pieces floating around, so I just wanted to get a feel for that. So that's kind of how it's going to look. The sink will be about here. Hopefully as soon as I get that, I can confirm all the measurements on the basin. And then the next step will be to build the drawer boxes. After I do the false front, see how far down that comes. I think I'm going to end up with about a 6-inch deep drawer here, and then about maybe a 6-inch deep drawer on this side as well, below the stove pull-out, which I'm figuring out what I want to do there. So far so good.